Welcome back to another geometry class. This time we'll talk about congruency of parts of a triangle. In fact, our lesson bear a name that is strange, probably for you. It's so-called Cpctc. I'll explain you later what is the meaning of these letters. Yeah, but for now, we have a few objectives for this lesson. We use Cpctc to prove that parts of triangles are congruent, and use Cpctc to find unknowns in congruent triangles. Yeah? Good. When triangles are congruent, the sides and angles that coincide means they are in the same position, right, are called corresponding parts. Yeah, corresponding parts. Good. The corresponding parts of congruent sides are marked with hash markings, right, marks, and the corresponding congruent angles are marked with arcs. As we can see, AB congruent ED. Why? Because they have the same number of markings. Also, BC congruent EF, because they have the same number of markings. Yeah, and AC congruent DF for the same reason. Angles B and E are congruent because they have the same number of markings, and so on. Yeah, good. When two triangles are congruent, there are 6 facts or 6 parts that are true about triangles. Yeah, the triangles have 3 sets of congruent sides and 3 sets of congruent angles. Remember, a triangle is a geometric figure consisting of 3 sides and 3 angles. Yeah? Each of these corresponding parts must be congruent in order to triangle be congruent. Yeah? So, in the previous case, these are the 6 facts. Yeah? So, AB, the corresponding sides must be congruent. So, AB congruent DE, BC congruent EF, AC congruent DF, and angles A and D congruent, B and E, C and F. Yeah? Good. Next. What about Cpctc? Yeah? Once we prove our triangles are congruent, yeah, the leftover pieces that were not used in our proof are also congruent. Remember, congruent triangles have 6 sets of congruent pieces. We now have a follow-up theorem to be used after the triangles are known to be congruent. It's so-called Cpctc. So, Cpctc are the initials from some words. Yeah. So, first C means comes from corresponding. P comes from parts. C comes from congruent. T comes from triangles, and C, the last C, comes from congruent. In other words, what does this theorem state? Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Yeah? So, when you have 2 triangles and you have proved they are congruent, then each part of one triangle, side or angle, is congruent to the corresponding parts of the other triangle. Yeah? Good. So, we have basically two types of congruency problems. When, type 1, when based on the postulate of congruency, prove that two triangles are congruent. This is the first type. Second type, given two triangles that are congruent, find the sides and the angles that are corresponding and their values. Now, how we identify the corresponding parts? Yeah? So I will give you a rule that works all the time. Yeah? Even if you don't have a picture, a diagram of the triangles. And this is the rule. The order of the letters in the names of the triangles should display the corresponding relationships. By doing so, even without a picture, you would know that angle A would be congruent to angle D. Sides AB congruent DE, because they are in the same position in each triangle name. For example, so when you have a statement like this, triangle, remember this is the symbol for triangle, ABC congruent triangle DEF. Yeah? So you don't need a picture to figure out what are the corresponding parts. But you can look at the position of the letters. Look, the corresponding letter for A in the other triangle is D. Why? Because D is in the same place as A. So A and D are corresponding. Yeah? Also, the corresponding letter for B in this triangle is E. For C is F. Yeah? So, how we write the congruency statement? Using this rule. So, for first, let's write the congruency statement for sides. Yeah? So, side AB congruent side D. Yeah? Why? Because A and B are corresponding to D. Also, BC corresponding EF. And AC corresponding DF. Yeah? A and C, D and F. You look at the same spot. Also, this is for sides. Now, we have to write another congruency statement for angles. So, we have angle A congruent angle D. Angle B congruent angle E. Angle C congruent angle F. Yeah? Because these letters are in the same position. They are corresponding. Good. This being said, let's have a few problems with Cpctc. I like this name. Yeah? Good. Directions. List all congruent angles and sides given the congruency statement. We have triangle JKL congruent triangle PQR. We have to come up with 6 congruency statements, yeah? One for each pair of parts. So, for angles, as we can see, J is corresponding to P, K with Q, L with R. So, as angles, we're going to have angle L congruent angle P, angle K congruent angle Q, and angle L congruent angle R. Yeah? L, hold on, is J. Yeah? Sorry, this is J. J and P are corresponding. K and Q also. L and R also. Now, we need 3 more congruency statements for sides this time. So, JK congruent PQ. KL congruent QR, and JL congruent PR. Yeah? Again, we look at the positions. What about 2? This time we have different letters, but we apply the same rule. So, for angles, angle W congruent angle E. Yeah? W and E are corresponding. Then, angle X congruent angle F. Yeah? X and F are corresponding. Angle Y congruent angle G. Yeah? And now for sides, we have WX congruent EF. WX congruent EF. Then XY congruent FG. And finally, WY congruent EG. So, write another very congruency statement is simple. We have to come up with a different name, but for the same triangle. For example, we can play with these letters, change their signs. But pay attention, if you change, for example, the place of L, for example, you put L in the middle, you have to put also R in the middle, because the corresponding letter for L is R. Yeah? Good. So we can say JK, JLK is congruent triangle. So PRQ is another congruency statement. Here, let this time change the place of W. But if you change the place of W, you also need to change the place of E, because E is the corresponding letter for W. So you're going to have, let's say we move in the third place and Y in the first place. So triangle YXW congruent triangle GFE. Yep. Is the same thing. Yeah. Now, for number 3, given triangle KPM and triangle AYC, complete each of the following statements. We have to find the side that is corresponding to KM and is congruent to KM. Yeah? So, look, KM. What letters are in the same place as K and M in the other triangle? Are A and C. So, the segment, the side, would be AC. Now, CY. CY. Now, C comes first, which means M, which is the corresponding letter for C, should come first. Yeah? So, you're going to have MP. Yeah? MP. Then PK. So, PK. P comes first. The corresponding letter for P is Y. So, Y should come first. YA. Good. What about angles? Angles, angle Y, yeah, angle Y is congruent angle P, because P is corresponding to Y. So angle P. Next, angle K. Angle K. The corresponding letter for K is A. So angle K congruent angle A. Good. Now, angle ACY. So what is this angle? Remember, an angle could be named using one letter, namely its vertex, or using 3 letters. You have to follow the order of the letters. So A, C, Y. C is in the middle, yeah? It's its vertex. That's the angle. In other words, is what angle is congruent to ACI in the other triangle? You look at the position of the letters, yeah? So A stay there, which means K stay there, yeah? Because K is in the same position as A. So you say angle K. Now, here we switch the place of C and Y. We should do the same thing here, yeah? We switch the place of M and P. So you're gonna have MP. Good. What about triangle MPK? MPK. So we switch the letters M and K. So you're gonna have triangle. We do the same in the other triangle, yeah? So it's CYA. Not CIA, CYA, yeah? Good. Then triangle YAC. YAC, yeah? So this time we switch the place of Y, A and Y. And we do the same in the other triangle. We switch the place of P and K, yeah? So you're gonna have PKM. Triangle PKM. Good. So this is all we have for today. We'll see soon with other lesson. Thank you for watching my lesson.